Let's kick it off. So welcome everyone. I'm Tom Logan, co-founder and CEO here at Cohley. Cohley is a content generation and a content testing platform. I am thrilled to have with me two great friends of Cohley. Ryan Kolpitz is the CEO and founder of Powr Media. And also with us is Aaron Turner, who is the COO at a company called Vertiball, which you see represented in some of these intro pics here. Why don't we go ahead and have each one of you introduce yourselves real quick, tell us a little bit about your respective companies, and then if you want to mix in a story from college together, that would be great too. Both Ryan and Aaron went to University of New Brunswick, and if you hear any accent from them, you will. I just learned recently that that Eastern Canadian accent is called a maritime accent. Is that correct?
It is, yeah.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, so Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start? Tell us about Powr Media and about yourself.
For sure, yeah. So thanks for the intro. Obviously, I'm Ryan, founder of Powr Media. We're an advertising agency that works with e-commerce brands to both make content and then drive paid traffic and help brands scale through social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. And we're hoping to get into a little bit of YouTube stuff here as well. But yeah, so we're a relatively young company. We started doing client work in 2019, and right around the time when we started working with Vertiball, actually. So it was a good introduction for us. And we've kind of been growing our company and operations alongside Vertiball. So it's been a great partnership. Yeah. Story from college. I actually met Aaron. So I did engineering, and I did civil engineering. Aaron did mechanical engineering, and I met Aaron through, I'm pretty sure it was a class, and we had a design project, and we were making what was it? It was a coffee.
It was an iced coffee machine.
Yeah, and I think you did the whole project. But
it was a blender that had like ice on the outside of it, and then it didn't work.
It didn't work at all. It actually had like a little section that had to go in the freezer, and it had a section that was supposed to be frozen solid. And long story short, we were the last ones to present, and the whole thing was melted, and it failed miserably. But anyways,
is everyone that went to University of New Brunswick a successful entrepreneur, or are you two major outliers?
That's hard to say. I don't know. I'd say
class. Yeah, something
I'd say
up there.
It's not typically a big entrepreneur spot in the world, I would say.
I can't wait for that Turner wing to go up. Awesome. Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I guess my name's Aaron Turner. I'm from East Coast Canada. My background's actually in chemical engineering. I have a master's degree in chemical.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. And it makes no difference. The founder of Vertiball and myself are good friends. We go back. We played hockey together forever. So when I was finished on my master's degree, he was just kind of getting Vertiball off the ground. It was going through some university programs. It was just a product, like the business went there. So I was actually going to work at a golf course for the summer. It was my summer of relaxation. And he was like, come work. He spotted me at like a party one night. He's like, come work for me. Like, there's no point working for a golf course. So I've been at Vertiball for a year and a half now. And from that, I handle, I guess, all of the day-to-day operations. We brought Ryan in fairly early. Mm-hmm. I guess we brought Ryan in kind of as soon as the Kickstarter finished, and then we were just putting up the website and all that. So he's been around since day one almost. So we've been selling on our website since October of 2019. Our first product, Vertiball, wall-mounted back massager. In that time we've sold, I guess, over 60,000 units, and just continuing strong growth, I guess, over the year. We were just on Dragon's Den, for all of you American. That's the Canadian version, just a little bit nicer version of Shark Tank.
I noticed that when I was watching the clip. They're significantly nicer.
There's please and thank you. Yeah, it's great. So we're coming off that, and everything's pretty exciting here. We're just kind of working on some new products, and with that, lots of new content, lots of new brands, lots of new stuff in the works for 2021. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, and the space that Vertiball is filling in the market is essentially almost like a DIY massager that's really much more effective than using like a lacrosse ball, right?
Yeah, it really, like the founder was just kind of always had back pain, always just like tired of rolling on the ground with lacrosse balls. It's the number one prescribed thing from physiotherapists, chiropractors, is throw a lacrosse ball, like lie down on it. There's got to be a better solution to that. So we think we have that solution, and yeah, so we're kind of creating that entire system for back pain, and this is just kind of the first product along that journey.
Awesome. Well, it's been really fun to watch Vertiball grow over the past year and change, and certainly love what you're all doing. And we'll certainly tie into the entire webinar. We'll talk about that digital growth, what's fueled it, and obviously how digital ads have been at the core of that. So real quick, just to set an agenda. Now that you know all of our awesome speakers, we're going to cover like 3 primary topics here. But really, the entire umbrella here is, the concept here is, don't give up on Facebook ads. Just push forward in terms of how you think about testing, how you think about the full funnel approach to marketing. And that'll really break down into 3 specific sections that we'll cover with Aaron and Ryan. That'll be making smart investments in creative and testing, obviously with growth and conversions at the forefront there. We'll also talk about taking a full funnel approach to Facebook advertising. That basically means we're not just running conversion ads, we're also running awareness, full funnel type of approach. Ryan's going to walk us through that. Then we're also going to talk about using different types of content at different types of the funnel. For example, with a product like Vertiball, there can be a little bit more education involved. So that UGC video tends to be a very important part of that full funnel approach. And then we'll also tease out this creative calculator that Powr Media and Cohley have collaborated on, and we're really excited about. So, whoops, and skip this. Why don't we talk about how creative has evolved specifically at Vertiball, and how it's translated to digital growth and just growth of the entire company. Aaron, why don't you lead us off with a before and after?
Yeah, so before, when we first started, I'd like to say we had no clue what we were doing, but that would be probably the best guess. There's, I guess, 3 of us working, and to create content it's a pain. Like you gotta organize the shoots, you gotta do everything, and to be honest, like it takes a lot of time, and you really only get a couple ads out of it. So we're spending probably a couple days every 2 weeks, like shooting content, going to our local gyms, local university gyms, local studios, and like getting stuff. It was a huge time commitment, and the content that we're getting out of, as you can see here, it's all right. It's just more, it looks produced, but not like a good produced that you see from Facebook. It doesn't seem, it's not like truthful. It doesn't seem like it's actually someone using the product. So yeah, we were spending a lot of time on that. A lot of our time was focused on creating content, and the content that we were actually getting out ourselves was just not up to par and not what we needed.
I mean, you even used Ryan as a model in some photos.
Yeah, we were using everybody. Like,
I didn't make the cut for this presentation though.
No, didn't make the cut for this presentation.
I
but like,
I believe we didn't include that.
But like anybody can get out, like, especially as a young company of like, like we're all in our mid-20s, like it's like the only people we have access to really are like our friends. So we're getting them all out, like getting to the gym and doing shoots. And although it's good, we're always just like didn't have enough content for social media, didn't have enough stuff to actually like use to scale up ads, because we were running kind of one ad for months, and then doing another ad and then getting that. So it was a process that just didn't have a lot of content flowing, which is essential if you want to test out ads and actually create like winning content.
For sure. Yeah. And on that note, I'll like just to add on that too, like I think a lot of people have a vision for what they want their content to look like and what they want their brand to be pushing through like ads. But at the end of the day, like you really gotta gotta take feedback from your data and look and see what people are responding to. And a lot of times it's not at all what people would envision or want their brand to be running. So it's extremely crucial to have that volume of content to test and basically, you know, plan and take guidance on your content plan and strategy moving forward based on past performance. And that was definitely, like Aaron said, it was definitely a bottleneck that we were running into initially early on, was basically, you know, taking the time to go out and shoot, edit, and test ads, only to find out that, you know, they weren't going to perform that good, and then it was like back to the drawing board. So it's definitely crucial to have like a large library of content to test.
So, and Ryan, you oversaw that process, and you obviously saw the assets that Vertiball was working with. I think what you just said right there is a really interesting point. Basically, they would shoot content primarily with their friends, scrapping it together, test it, realize that you're kind of fresh out of assets or you're experiencing some ad fatigue, and then you need to go back to the drawing board and create more, right? So that's kind of the antithesis of what we talk about all the time, which is this flywheel that always needs more and more assets to feed it, constantly trying to find more winners. And you're not just assuming that because you found one ad that performs really well, that's the end all be all, right?
For sure, yeah. And it's definitely a big investment, obviously, to produce that much content, and a lot of it, like a lot of the content we still haven't even tested it yet, but it's definitely something where more is better, and it's good to have more than you need and too much content, because there's nothing worse than scrounging around trying to find something to work when you don't have anything, and things are kind of at a standstill from a growth and traffic perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In about a year's time, we've gone from a point where we were like just looking everywhere to get content to a point where we have content planned for the next like 3, 4, 5 months, like just like already stockpiled.
Yeah. Aaron, talk to everyone about the brand control of the assets, or maybe openness to testing of different types of assets. And I'll as we talk about this, I'll shift to the content now. Talk about how that's changed.
Yeah, when we first started, it was more or less we would go shoot something, put it up. Now we go through Cohley, get all of this content, and we edit together. And really every time we put up a new ad, we see how it performs, and like, oh, that's the winner. And then we go back to Cohley, we get more content that's like that content, we edit it differently, and then we find the winner of that one. So it's really just that iterative approach of finding the content that works. And I guess Ryan can talk more about this, but there's times that we put up 50, 60 ads like in a couple weeks and try and find that winner.
For sure, yeah. And it's I mean, obviously it's like most of your results come from a very small percentage of what you test. And I mean, a lot of times, like I said earlier, it's the things that you don't really expect are going to work that end up performing the best. And it's, you know, we see that across the board. There's a lot of times the stuff that, you know, you put the most time into and you're really like pumped to test it because you think it's going to perform. A lot of times that just completely tanks. And so again, going back to what I said earlier, I think it's really important to be open to testing. And I mean, we've worked with a lot of people who don't even want to test the creatives that, you know, we've produced, and because it doesn't match exactly what they want. But at the end of the day, these aren't things, it doesn't have to be content that you're going to be posting on your organic socials. But if you're focused on getting the best results possible, you definitely have to be open to testing everything.
And one point I want to make here is that these ad testing strategies that Ryan's talking about are very applicable to really any size brand, right? It's not just the big brands that should have the ability to run this type of testing, right? Big brands already have an advantage over the up and coming direct to consumer type of brand, but the best way to even the playing field, test like they test, right? Maybe talk real quickly, Ryan, about how Vertiball's ramped up their just overall like testing iteration. So you're saying 60 tests a week.
Yeah. So like Aaron was saying, when we started out, it was kind of go, shoot, edit. Right. There wasn't really a whole lot of planning that went into it, to be honest. We kind of shoot on the fly, get content, edit it, and put it up. now we're at a point where we're, Aaron and I were talking about this the other day, like we're in a very good place from a content perspective because we have a stockpile of content that's been made based on what's performed in the past. So we're pretty confident that it's going to work when we launch it. But we're kind of, we're scaling up the past winners that are still converting very, very well. Right. And so we're testing these creatives on a low budget while we're scaling up our past winners. And so that when things start to taper off on our current top performing assets, we have things ready to plug in, and right. We're not going to see a ton of volatility like a lot of the volatility that plagues a lot of advertisers on Facebook. There's always going to be some volatility and competition in the auction, but yep. That's the best way it's the best insurance policy, in my opinion, is to really be testing that content in advance and being proactive with it.
Yeah, and Ryan, I don't want to get too in the weeds for everyone here, but when we talk about what constitutes a specific test, that's basically, well, why don't I leave that open-ended? When you say 60 tests, is that a combination of different copy, of different assets, of different audiences? Just want to make sure we can define that for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the creative is the most important thing. It has the most direct impact on the performance. But yeah, for sure, like we're testing different headlines, ad copy, descriptions, even like the call to action button between like shop now, learn more. Those things, when you look at a macro level and you have a lot of data to look at, you can see some pretty surprising differences. And we use typically dynamic creatives to test, because it's nice because you can basically plug in a bunch of different creatives, a bunch of different copy, headlines, and you can change a bunch of variables, and then you can run those and get very, very specific insights as to which combinations perform well. And we've even seen those dynamic creative campaigns being quite scalable as of late. So I think Facebook's kind of shifting more towards the automation side of giving the algorithm more freedom to work, and that's just even more of a reason, even more importance to have a large volume of creative and content and different things to plug in there and let Facebook go to work.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get into how like rising CPMs and overall Facebook ad costs have necessitated these testing strategies and different call it evolutions of strategy. So one thing I should have mentioned at the top, if you have any questions, go ahead and just put them in the Q&A button below. We're gonna have 15 minutes at the end for questions for both Ryan and Aaron. So go ahead and add those whenever, and we'll get to them at the end. Cool. So let's move on here. All right, so our next subject, and this is, last time I talked to you about this, Ryan, I was so interested in what you were talking about that I basically told you to shut up and allow me to then record it so I could share it with the entire audience. It was so damn interesting. And it felt selfish to just be the only person ingesting this awesome information from you. So let's talk about the sort of full funnel approach to ad testing, what a lot of brands get wrong, and how you see this playing into the importance of just like a full-on, comprehensive, successful long-term ad strategy.
For sure. Yeah, so on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the breakdown of the budgets and where those are going. But so here we're kind of breaking down where we allocate different creatives based on different parts of the funnel. So with cold traffic, it's going after your audiences, your prospecting audiences with broad interests, lookalikes, specific demographics, and broad targeting, which has actually been very effective for scaling lately. Meaning like no targeting, or if you're selling just something that's male dominated, then basically leaving it pretty much wide open. We'll see how that's going to change moving forward with the iOS update. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think anyone is 100% sure what's going to happen there, but I think as they roll out the iOS update and people are either opting out or opting in of tracking, it could shift a little bit. But as of late, I know a lot of other advertisers are having a lot of luck with broad targeting. Basically, at the top of funnel, that's where we're delivering the direct response, attention grabbing type content, and the idea is basically delivering content where when when people, see your ads again in the middle or bottom of funnel, they already kind of know what your product does, what you're offering, and what your solution is. And then, as you move down the funnel, like I said, people are aware of what you do. Sometimes they just need a little reminder or push. But yeah, at the top of funnel, we're using a lot of fast-paced, direct response style content. And then the key is definitely to catch attention, and that leading clip is obviously the most important. And a lot of times, even when creatives start to burn out, just changing that leading clip, the first 3 seconds of an ad, can completely revitalize a campaign and can extend the life cycle of that content.
Yeah.
And then
I want to just talk about the benefits of creating these retargeting buckets with the awareness. So once they come on to vertiball.com, that then allows you to pixel them, retarget them, and continue to nurture them throughout the actual buyer journey.
For sure, yeah, and obviously, you got your Facebook pixel. We also have like a Snapchat pixel on the website, and Google tracking as well. And so you can follow these people around wherever they are, and basically, it's if you plan out the buyer's journey and deliver content specific to where they're at,
right.
It's super effective, and leading down to like the middle of funnel to warm traffic, retargeting people who've watched a certain percentage of your videos, who've engaged with your page, your ads. This is where we're actually, a lot of times the content in this stage is very similar to the top of funnel, but we'll start to put more emphasis on user generated content, testimonials, people getting results with your product, or lifestyle content showing them using the product. And then the middle of funnel is basically before anyone like actually makes it to your website. And then in the bottom of funnel, the hot traffic, we're really just hammering them with UGC and social proof. And if you want to run a specific type of promotions, we'll sometimes throw in a 10% discount or 15% discount for people who have been on the website and added to cart, let's say like within the last 14 days. But they haven't purchased. Sometimes they just need a little bit of a push to get over that final hurdle. And then if it's applicable to your brand, the post-purchase, if you're a brand that has a lot of repeat customers, then it's super important to be running post-purchase retargeting as well, and designing a flow that's, it can be 1 to 3 months, or even 3 to 6 months out after buying, let's say something like cosmetics or a consumable product. We've had a lot of success with planning out a retargeting sequence, and a lot of times that'll start with a thank you ad from the founder or CEO or someone at the company, and those can be those retargeting sequences. We run those on a very, very low budget, like $5 a day, and but those are super effective for getting those people back and buying again.
Yeah, Aaron, talk to us about the importance of these post-purchase ads and keeping people engaged, because obviously Vertiball is looking to, release new products and expand the entire product offering. Like, how are you thinking about this moving forward and upping the LTV of an actual customer?
Yeah, it's a little different when you have one product. It's hard to keep people engaged. And also, if you buy one product, you might not think the company's ever coming out with like other things.
Right.
So we have a lot of other things that are set to release in the next year or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that bottom of funnel is one of our approaches to do it. We also invest into content as like free educational content.
Right.
We have a WNBA player. We have an NFL safety. We have a top chiropractor and a top physiotherapist in the States. And then we send that out in like emails as well to keep people engaged in the brand. And what we've been seeing like through those is actually they're bringing in sales as well. Just kind of investing into that educational content, putting it out. Those people that are just sitting on the fence that also were kind of maybe in the middle, bottom of the funnel at that time, have gone to our website, gone through like an email capture. They're also buying from there as well. So we're really just trying to I guess get every dollar to the customer at that point, and kind of keeping people engaged like in our email list, on Facebook, So when we do have our next product and it's ready to launch, that we just have a whole bucket of customers that like the product and they want more.
Yeah. And Aaron, I really like how you talk about, you make sure to mention through all of this, like it doesn't matter how great your company or your actual advertising is, or how great your content is. If you don't have a great product and can't build that real trust with the customer, it doesn't really matter, right?
No one's buying from you again if they don't like it. So it's really important to make sure that they stay engaged and it's something that they can get use out of. And the product, like maybe you get the product and you don't know completely how to use it. Right. Having that just free educational material up there to like, this is what you do in this part of your body is just so useful. Like I'm not a physiotherapist, so like I can't give that information. Right. So that's why we go out, we find certain people, and we've even found people through Cohley that have produced some amazing content that we run as ads, like that are physiotherapists, that are chiropractors, that like just provide some great work for ads and some additional content on social media and everywhere.
Yeah, that validation I think is critical. Another thing I really like that you talked about the other day was the value of starting conversations within ads, especially ads that you've been running for a while. And basically, I mean, you can talk about this more, but people sell on your behalf.
Yeah, that's one of the best things of having a product that people like. People will, if people see those ads again, they'll come back and start commenting. And actually, so one of the things that we're very diligent about is going in and getting rid of comments. That's any Facebook comments are a cesspool. So there's a lot of comments that do need to be deleted. So we make sure we have like proper filters, and anything that would reduce conversation, we make sure to get those out. And then we really just we engage as much as possible at the start, and then once an ad starts scaling up and it's seen by millions of people, it really just becomes its own conversation down there. And people defend the product. When people say, this won't work, people will come in who bought it and like, listen, this is great. And it really is one of the best things to buy, is just that honest review on a Facebook ad. If someone's like, hey, this actually is great.
I mean, and I think on that note too, like I think like it's important to listen to the comments, whether they're good or bad, because you can get a lot of feedback about different product issues you might be having, or different objections that people have to buying that you can then go and you can handle directly with the ads. Aaron made a great point that there's a lot of trolls out there who comment, and they've never tried the product, and obviously there's a lot of people who love the product, and most of the negative comments we get aren't product quality issues. They are those trolls, and it's great having people being able to sell and handle objections in your comments. And we used to exclude past purchasers from our prospecting campaigns, but we started just leaving it because they do add a lot of social proof.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like one of the biggest objections that we have is obviously, it's an advancement on the tennis ball or the lacrosse ball that you put up against the wall and handle. So a lot of people are commenting, just buy a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. And so we kind of attacked that objection head on, and it's been effective. So I think it's important to you obviously want to make sure that you're cleaning up and deleting anything that's negative, but also like listening and taking some feedback as well, even if it's negative.
Such an interesting distinction. We're not looking to delete any comment that's at all negative or at all isn't overwhelmingly positive. More so getting away from the inappropriate classic like troll comments, but we're learning from the actual objections and incorporating that in.
Exactly. And a lot of times the negative comments too will start these discussions where these objections are being handled. So a lot of times they end up being very beneficial.
Yeah, a lot of the times we see the people that actually had the negative comment will actually come and buy like a couple days later after a Facebook conversation, which is interesting.
One has addressed their concern, or they read some reviews or things like that.
Yeah, like the brand going out and telling them that it's great, it's so much better than what they're using, is just not the same as a customer coming back and saying, hey, like it's actually great, try it.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Aaron, have you ever been tempted to create a alter ego account and go in and comment on the ads as a anonymous source? I'd imagine if I were you.
I do not. I do not do that. I try to spend as much time off Facebook as physically possible after work hours. But you know, I try to stay off Facebook as much as possible after work hours. It does become hard when your phone's constantly notifying you of conversations going on.
I mean, yeah, I feel this on a different level when we just even do our leadership surveys internally at Cohley. It can be very scary to get feedback, especially when something is like so near and dear to your heart. But I mean, you're able to put your ego aside. You don't need to go on and yell at people just for having an objection. And you're nurturing. You're letting people speak for the product. It's a beautiful thing.
It's impossible to avoid the negative, but you really just understand that most of them are trolls, and you kind of take that. And a lot of the information we actually use it to improve our websites, our ad copy, and all that stuff. And yeah, the more negative comments you can kind of reduce by taking that feedback and putting into your brand is the best thing you could actually do.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't take it truthfully, because some people are mean.
That's true. Cool. Let's again, just reminder, feel free to add any questions, see if you coming in. We'll get to them in a minute, but real quick, I do want to I want Ryan to speak to the full funnel approach here. These numbers are obviously, these are pretty in the weeds, but we'll be able to speak to them high level. And Ryan, being the genius that he is, also color coded these for us to make it easy. Let's chat about this, Ryan.
Yeah, so this is a screenshot from the Vertiball account, and the point of this is just to kind of show where we're allocating money. And so the red is the bottom of funnel, orange or yellow is middle funnel, and then the blue is top of funnel, and then everything that's not highlighted is also top of funnel prospecting. But the point of this is you can see the two campaigns on the bottom in the blue box. Those are alternative campaign objections. One is a traffic objective, one's a page post engagement, and we run these on most accounts that we're on, and whether it's a traffic or video view. I know a lot of people will only run purchase conversion at the top of funnel. Mm-hmm. Because those are the campaigns that you see a direct return on, and but it's also, you're obviously paying that premium for the purchase conversion campaigns. And so just looking at this, I mean, the PPE and traffic campaigns, we've spent probably 2% of our total budget on those, and it's driven 10% of the traffic. So it's a much more cost-effective way to drive traffic and get people into your ecosystem, and then you can keep retargeting them with different content to kind of build on that social proof and authority, and push them closer to becoming a customer with your brand.
Right.
And obviously, yeah, you can see the CPMs. The PPE one is a little bit higher, but the very bottom one, the traffic campaign, that's where we're pushing the NFL content that we've sourced. And interesting thing, actually, we were expecting when we were starting to run that stuff, that was going to convert a very high level, or better, as good, if not better, than our other top performing assets. But we found that it really didn't convert that well. We tested a ton of different variations. We edited it a bunch, and at the end of the day, it just wasn't converting real well. But it's been a super crucial part of our strategy, because we're driving a ton of traffic.
Right.
And there's that brand awareness when people see our retargeting ads and that social proof that kind of ties our product to that talent. And yeah, it's been super effective, and we're saving. It's a more cost-effective strategy for sure.
Right, but it's an always-on strategy, right? And you're constantly filling that bucket with people that you can retarget, and clearly they've clicked on the ad. Maybe they just love, CeeDee Lamb or one of the other athletes that you've done a collaboration with. But that's enough to kick off the educational process. And Ryan, you and I have talked about this a lot, and there's also been a lot of thought leadership on this, throughout the marketing world. But it's really 7+ impressions, before the average consumer actually pulls the trigger and makes it an actual purchase, correct?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, on like our purchase conversion campaigns, a lot of those other prospecting campaigns, to have a frequency of 2 or higher, meaning people are seeing your ads twice,
Right.
for like each ad's being seen by everybody twice, that would be considered high. And so it's a very expensive way to try and increase the number of times that people are seeing your content. And obviously, you know, with your retargeting campaigns, as you move down the funnel, you increase that frequency. But if it's going to take people that much longer to, you know, if it's going to take people 5, 6, 7 times of seeing your content in order for them to be ready to make a purchase, there's a lot more cost-effective way of doing that than just going straight for purchases at the top of funnel. And obviously, we use a hybrid on this account. Some accounts, depending on the price point of the product, the strategy is traffic, 100% traffic at the top of funnel. So it really just depends on your business and your industry.
Yeah, so that's a question that came in from the audience, and that's actually a great time to ask it. How do you balance the sort of allocation of spend between each stage of the funnel? Like, does it depend on the brand? Is that just learned through testing? How do you think about it on a brand specific basis?
Yeah, so I think it definitely depends on the account. And to be honest with you, we don't follow a specific like formula or strategy. A lot of times it's just kind of gut feel. And obviously, like with Vertiball's account, those top of funnel prospecting purchase conversion campaigns are bringing a very good return. So it's been a very effective strategy for this account. But you know, if you're testing a lot of different creatives and nothing's really bringing in a good return at the top of funnel, then you're going to need to adjust your strategy and drive more traffic, and then put more time into converting them over a retargeting sequence as they move down through the funnel.
Yeah. And Ryan, you and I had talked about people's general frustration with the increasing CPMs, increasing costs of Facebook ad spend. And we've talked about a lot of different ways to address it. I really like the way that you talk about this full funnel approach being kind of the future, or really the future of a sophisticated ad strategy on Facebook. Can you talk about how you see that evolving from where we are now, and how both brands, large and small, can benefit from that full funnel approach?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, costs are actually quite cheap right now. I'm not sure exactly why. I think like Q1, they're always, costs go down a little bit from Q4, but I mean, November, December this past year was the most expensive it's ever been, and it's going to keep getting more and more expensive, assuming things keep going on the trajectory they're on. And as things get more expensive and there's more advertisers and more spend being spent on the platforms, you need to be more competitive, and you need to have you need to be strategic with how you're acquiring customers. And obviously those purchase conversion campaigns are the most expensive traffic. So if you're not, I think it's the most important thing is that you're testing different funnel strategies, and kind of reading the data at a macro level to figure out what's the best strategy for your business.
Yeah,
because it is very very dependent from account to account.
Awesome. And Aaron, question for you. So after successfully scaling up the Vertiball product, we talked about you launching new products. The question is, what have you? Let me make sure I'm reading this. What have you learned about your ads playbook or your go-to-market playbook that you'll incorporate in subsequent product launches over the next year?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest things is working with Ryan. So we've also partnered with another creative agency that's with Cohley as well, Blitz Creatives, on the NFL content that Ryan is using for the traffic and a lot of the top of the funnel stuff. So kind of our plans for the next products is to really do a big launch with an NFL player atop, to really give that awareness. You can always sell the product to to the people already in your funnel, to the people already in your email list.
Right.
But one of the things that we really do see for awareness is a top level athlete. It may not drive sales at the end of the day. It may, like, you may only see 10 sales come in over that short term, but over a long like year after you put that up, you really do see the benefits on just your website. If you go to a website and you see a top NFL player, a top like doctor in the world saying, "Hey, this product's great," it's so much better than going there and there's nothing. It's an investment. You may not see those returns, but it's something that we think is beneficial over the long run to create the returns on the ad spend at the bottom of the funnel.
That's awesome. Let's see. Question for Ryan. What content should we be using, or how should we be thinking about content at each stage of the funnel?
Yeah, so if you want to go back one slide there, Tom.
Yeah.
So at the top of funnel, again, I think it's important that the content is super engaging. And as of late, we've seen image ads actually performing very well. In the past, video was massively outperforming image, but at the top of funnel, video is crucial, and it's just so much more engaging than static image ads. So I think making sure that you invest in, again, I think it comes back to testing, but you want your ads at the top of funnel to be super fast paced. You want to be showing 2 to 3 different, either like completely different shots or different angles within the first 5 seconds. And you gotta keep in mind how short people's attention span is, and how many ads people see on a daily basis. So people you gotta really stand out in that news feed, because it's a content oriented platform. So if you're not standing out compared to other content creators or advertisers, then no one's going to actually take the time to even engage with your content, and then you lose them because you don't have the ability to retarget them. And then as you move down the funnel, then I think it's more about, once people know what your product is and what you do, and you know that they're a warmer prospect, whether they're in the middle or bottom of funnel, having content that is basically going to handle objections that a lot of people have. And again, you can tailor that type of content specifically based on feedback you get in comments and from people about your products, or but having content that's going to basically show other people using your products and loving your products is super effective as you move down that funnel.
One more question here. That's a really good one, and then we'll get to the creative calculator to wrap it up. But we've talked primarily about Instagram and Facebook advertising today. How do you think about the funnel on TikTok, on Snapchat, some of these more emerging channels that people are obviously very enthusiastic about?
Yeah, so we don't have a ton of experience advertising on TikTok, but I think this concept of the funnel is applicable no matter where you are. And I think basically each one of these stages of the funnel, we use different traffic sources for each of them. And so people that are coming into our network from, let's say, Snapchat, we're retargeting them on Snapchat, but we're also retargeting them on Facebook as well. And so I think it's, even if you're not running ads right now on various channels, I think it's still good to make an ads manager and install the pixel on your website, because that's data that you're kind of leaving behind if you don't. And so whatever your traffic source is, that's going to vary dependent on your product and your demographic. On Snapchat, you're not gonna, if you're selling to an older demographic, Snapchat is probably not going to be your primary traffic source. But my parents are on Snapchat, and so you shouldn't just neglect the platforms just because you're not advertising on them right now.
Right, that's a great point, and I hope everybody caught that. Install the pixel, even if you're not running ads right now. It'll pay dividends in the future.
For sure.
Great point. Cool. Want to show off our proud creation?
Let's do it.
All right, great. So the initial premise here was to demonstrate the impact that testing more content in ads has on overall return on ad spend, revenue from ads, and lowered CPMs as well, right? You put out an ad that has a higher click-through rate and is really being received well by the audience that you're targeting, CPMs are going to be less expensive. So let's go through this. Ryan, feel free to narrate, but let's see. Let's do it Vertiball style. Aaron, what's the average order value on vertiball.com?
56 bucks. Put that.
56? Okay. We'll just do 100,000 a month here. And then walk us through these other form fields here, Ryan.
So right now CPMs are, our average CPM is $7.24.
Great.
Which is quite low.
Yep, very much so. Average click-through rate, this is Facebook data across all ads. We can keep the conversion rate flat, but I'll click calculate and we'll bring this to life. All right, great. So these are our original metrics. This is what we can expect with all of these, core original pieces in place, right? Now, scrolling down, what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate the incremental value that testing more content and finding more winners has. So the assumptions here is that 5% of the tests that we run are going to unseat the king of the hill. They're going to outperform the existing winner in that specific ad, right? And then Ryan, do you want to cover these assumptions and where they came from?
Yeah, for sure. So those assumptions were from both our internal data and then some research that we did online as well. And obviously bear in mind that they are assumptions, but we're assuming that each time that we can kind of find a new winning creative that's going to improve the click-through rates on your ads by 10%, and then obviously decrease the CPM by 4%. Basically the idea is, as you find new winning creatives, people are responding better to those creatives, and so you get rewarded by Facebook by having content that's improving the user's experience. Right. And so if you scroll down there, Tom, so those are the numbers that went into this calculation and these outputs. But basically by testing, we're assuming that 5% of new creative tests are going to outperform your current control. So if you test 20 creatives, then you're going to find one new winning ad. And again, very much so an assumption, but I think it's based on our numbers. I would say it's in our internal data across our accounts, it's quite consistent with what we're seeing. Right. And yes, but it really speaks to the volume of creatives that you need to be testing on a regular basis. Because even with insights on what's worked well in the past, we still have a low success rate with creative tests.
Right. So even if you do find great, high performing ad creative, have to continue to be testing new assets, new copy, and just more iterations as you go. That flywheel never ends. It's not the origin of Vertiball where it was create, test, learn some things, but it's just a broken cycle at that point, right? Now it's always on, and
for sure, yeah. And every creative,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and you never really know when your performance is when creatives are gonna burn out, and you can extend the life cycle of creatives by running dynamic creatives, and but I think it's important to like I said before, be proactive, and like you said, Tom, always have that flywheel spinning of content creation, and try and have the problem of having too much content.
Right, just like Aaron said earlier, went from not having enough assets and scrapping it out and begging their friends to create assets to now having content mapped out 3-4 months in the future.
We also used to spend like a fair bit of money on content that just like wouldn't produce, which is another issue. Right. We spent a large sum of money for a video that never saw light of day. So that's always one of the mistakes of sometimes just investing your money doesn't actually improve anything. Yeah. There's a lot of media agencies that are
Right.
They're just not good and not fun to deal with.
Right. Well, we're a little over time, but just wanted to thank you, Aaron, Ryan. It's been so much fun to do this with you guys. We're such huge fans of both of you and both of your awesome companies. Thanks for doing it, and thanks for everyone that was able to join.
Thanks for having us. We'll have to do it again.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.